It gets worse. What can I say positive about episode 5? Some of the sets and the cinematography, the choice of locale for some of the showdowns, particularly the stairwell fight between the Hound and the Mountain. The dragon, CGI looks pretty good, with the exception of some iffy green screen and some of Grey Worm's scenes. The CGI looked pretty damn good. I liked some of the destruction scenes of King's Landing. Everything else, I mean, maybe the acting is okay, but everything else with this episode is wrong. Every character decision, every choice made, every action, the choices of really even how to kill characters, the fucking choices that certain characters make, Arya turning back, Gregor finding it more important to kill the brother he never cared about than to do his zombified duty to protect the queen. Euron Greyjoy surviving just to kill Jaime, but Jaime surviving and killing him just to die tragically with Cersei. And remember how many people were saying shit about Cersei being the final boss? Oh my god, apparently not. Apparently our number 2 or number 1, depending on how you look at it, protagonist, Daenerys Targaryen, is she's the final boss. She goes batshit insane. She easily takes over the city. She could have just burned Maegor's Holdfast with the queen in it easily. By the way, I may be wrong. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say, isn't Maegor's Holdfast and the Red Keep the same thing? Like Maegor's Holdfast is the Red Keep? I may be wrong in that Maegor's Holdfast is a keep within a castle. I think it might be like that, but fucking threw me for a loop too. So Daenerys is a batshit insane for no real legitimate reason. The Northmen stopped obeying Jon Snow for some reason. The surrender of the city was not accepted, sure, but it was pretty clear where the Lannister army was. No gold cloaks to speak of, by the way, but the Lannister army, I guess, is who was defending the city. It was very clear where they were and how to burn them. Apparently, the chief target of Daenerys was innocent civilians. Now, apparently, prior to the battle, Daenerys has apparently secretly given orders to her army that you are not just to kill all the Lannister army. You are supposed to kill every civilian, man, woman, and child that you find, and rape them if you feel like it before you kill them. Why? Somehow, Game of Thrones, between season 4 and now, went from one of the best series on television to easily one of the worst. This episode, I stand by my statement that episode 4 is worse than episode 3, the one that made everyone everyone's so fucking mad about that episode. That episode looks like an Oscar-winning movie compared to episode 4. And episode 5. Oh my God. Oh God. Oh man. Oh God. Oh man. I have no words. I am awestruck by how fucking bad episode 5 is. It is one of the worst things I have ever seen. It is the Last Jedi level bad. It is heinous beyond measure. I hate almost every single thing about it. It is shame for display, man. Shame for display. It is heinous. It is a crime on film or whatever the fuck television is. It's a crime of writing. I've never seen a worse episode of a show like this. I've watched Lost and seen all the bad choices that show made. I've seen all the piss poor choices made with other corny nerd shows that I used to love, like Dragon Ball Z. Many bad choices were made with the property. I'm sure there's all sorts of anime fans who can, pinpoint episodes and seasons that ruined things. There's all these nerd controversies that are just bad writing every time. I have never seen such a magnificent and glorious failure as this episode. It is one of the worst things I've ever seen in my fucking life. I mean, it had a great score. It had some arresting cinematography, good special effects. Those don't matter. People need to realize that the way things look do not matter. Some of the coolest looking movies that I've ever seen are the worst movies I've ever seen. The Last Jedi looks great. It's in the top 3 worst movies I've ever seen. The number 1 worst movie I've ever seen is a Ridley Scott sci-fi movie by the name of Prometheus. It is one of the most visually stunning, gorgeous movies I've ever seen. It is a triumph of CGI and lighting and color palette. It's an art form, and it is literally the worst movie I've ever seen in my life. I fucking loathe that movie. I loathe it all the more that it looks so good while it sucks like a black hole. This episode feels like that. That it is a very polished dumpster that is filled with burning tires and soiled diapers. And it's not even the way characters died. It's the decisions characters made were unrealistic. I can't even explain why they're bad because they make no sense. Virtually no decision made by any character was anything other than something suicidal or the choice of a delusional schizophrenic who's high on angel dust. I cannot justify almost any character's action in any given minute of the show. How can I be so impressed by Sandor showing down with the mountain? That's not his arc. Sandor's arc was to be freed from his misery and suffering. And maybe he got a tiny bit of that, but they changed his arc to face down the mountain. They don't have a blood vendetta. Sandor would kill the mountain if he could, but in a suicidal attack while an entire city burns around him. By the way, his fear of fire is gone now. Cersei, who is not stupid, apparently just decides she's invincible. A character who is driven by greed but also self-preservation makes suicidal choices. Jamie has had every reason to fall out of love with his sister and chooses to... He would have tried to save her to the end. He wouldn't have just given up because Dentist had nothing else matters line. Arya is the bloodlusty character, and she would have said, I don't... She would have pursued the queen, or stuck with the hound. All this time she spends trying to save people, it's not her character. That's something Jon would do. Again, that entire ending sequence with her is something Jon would do. And I love how these episodes, which suffer so badly from not explaining things, not having good setup scenes, lacking in good character interaction despite most of the show being about character interaction, we spend our last, I want to say 5 full minutes with Arya staring at a white horse. It's just standing there in the middle of an exploding fiery street that it would have fled from. And like some sort of spiritual cliche trope, it stands there and beckons to Arya, and she rides it away. And it's done in torturously, painfully unnecessary slow motion, like many scenes are in this show. And then she rides it off, and again, a cool shot that doesn't mean anything. A cool shot of Sandor and Gregor falling from the top of a keep into the flames. It's a really cool shot. It's meaningless. It has no value. It just looks cool. The dragon burning the city, pointless, thoughtless, insane. Looks cool. And of course I knew Euron would survive and end up killing a character. I didn't know which one. And of course it turned out to be Jaime, because he conveniently washes ashore just in time to meet Jaime and lose in a sword fight against him, which is hilarious. They didn't fight very well. It was rather poorly choreographed. Yet another flaw. Like I said, almost every single part of this show is garbage. Varys apparently might have somehow gotten a message off to somebody as a countermeasure against the queen. That was the first scene we see at the beginning. And then he knew he would be betrayed and just lets it happen. I don't really blame Tyrion for doing that. That's one of the few actions a character takes in this entire episode which makes sense. And turned out to be the wrong decision, but I mean, we had every reason to assume that Daenerys wouldn't become a violent psychopath. A batshit bouncing off the walls, bananas fucking psycho retard. But I should have... I mean, I didn't think they would do it. I just had like some sort of hope like that. They're not that dumb. They kill one of her dragons. Everyone tells her your entire motivation is to not be a tyrant. And she says, guess how I'm going to not be a tyrant? By being a tyrant. It's sort of like that classic, I call it the Sephiroth meme, but I'm sure it predates that Final Fantasy VII character by a lot. I'm going to save the world by killing it. Or fucking Diablo 3. The only way to preserve life is to end life. I'm now the angel of death. Wahaha. A equals A. If B is the negative, the antithesis, the opposite of A, then B does not equal A by rule. And A does not equal B. Yes does not mean no. Yes means yes. No does not mean yes. No means no. Why? Why are we inverting all the characters with insufficient, fucking grossly insufficient reasoning? Fuck this show. Fuck this show. I am just... You see this constant... This disbelieving... Bitch, are you for real? Like... Shit. Get my little Wire reference on. Shit. What a fucking meme this show is. It is the worst thing that has ever happened on HBO. It is... I swear to fucking Christ. Episode 3 is Citizen fucking Kane compared to Episode 5. To fucking prove me wrong. You thought the Night King was a fucked up fucking plotline? Daenerys just fucking kills 100,000 people, if not 600, 700,000 people. Not only sacks and loots, it rapes the village, but burns it. Cersei has to pay. Kills literally everybody but Cersei. At least I know the books. Even if George R.R. Martin dies and somebody else writes the remainder of his books, sort of like Frank Herbert's son writing the rest of Dune and kind of being better writer than his father was by a little bit, depending on how you look at it. I don't believe that a legitimate, not even the best, just a legitimate fantasy or sci-fi author, if tasked with finishing the books, they cannot ever come within light years of the poor quality of the show. I cannot overstate. I cannot repeat enough. Sorry for being repetitious. This show is hot, flaming garbage. This is a dog doo-doo. This is baby barf. This is filth. This is scum. This is an atrocity. I hate this show. And my hate of this show has grown so steadily that I am not going to fly into a rage or yell or scream or showboat my displeasure and disdain. This is just fucking pathetic. This is just fucking sad. This is just a fucking laughingstock. I just press on my own eyeballs really hard and bruise the shit out of them. Ow, that hurt. That's gonna be fuzzy for a minute. I thought about it, folks. I thought about blinding myself. I don't got anything else to say. I don't even know how I fucking cheesed this fucking review for 20 minutes. This is garbage. Fuck this show. Fuck this show. Fuck this show. It's so worthless. It's not even worth being that mad about. Thanks for watching.